Hey, sweetie, can you go grab the left-handed saws?
Cecil is always getting picked on, but Madden was the main perpetrator. This kid isn't your average lumberjack. He's a scrawny 19-year-old kid with thick glasses, almost resembling a sparrow. That's why Moose Madden is always picking on him. A huge man with a big flat face. The only reason he was out in the woods was because a distant relative who had a connection with the head office in Vancouver.
Can you make us some tea, dear?
Yeah, sure thing, Moose.
Cecil signed to Moose's gang as the handyman. His duties mainly consisted of carrying food back from the truck that came from the camp, but he also sharpened the axes and saws so that they could be used for the next day.
Yo, Lev, I got an awesome idea.
But soon, after little jokes and name calls were not affecting the boy anymore, they decided to bring it up a level.
Alright, very gentle now. We wouldn't want to wake up Sleeping Beauty.
Mon Dieu, this is going to be so much fun.
A few days later, we were sitting outside of the bunkhouse when Moose asked a question.
Hey, Cecil, dear, what do you do on the mainland?
Go to school.
Going to school? At your age? What school do you go to, Cecil? Kindergarten?
No.
You afraid to tell us?
No.
Okay, so what school do you go to then?
University.
University? You're lying.
After Moose knew that he was a college boy, he gave him no peace. More persistent bullying took place. That's when one late evening I was walking along the river, having my after-dinner pipe. I noticed Cecil sitting on the ground, covered in tears, holding his hand in his arms, so I tapped him on the shoulder to see what was wrong.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Anderson. This is the first time I've broken down this bad.
Is it Moose?
Yeah.
What's he done to you now?
Nothing more than he's done to me before. I thought after a couple of weeks it would stop. After all, when I got here it was pretty green. All the others stopped, but Moose just won't.
When are you going back to school?
In a couple of weeks.
Do you think you can handle it until then?
I need all the money I can make, although it's gonna be tough.
For the next 15 minutes, he just poured out his life story and how he got to this point. His father and mother split when he was still a baby, and he had been brought in a series of foster homes. But using his intellect, he managed to gather enough money for law school. That's why he was here, after all. We sat for a while after his story, then he asked,
Tell me, Mr. Anderson, why does Moose pick on me like the way he does?
I think Moose knows that you're smarter than him. I'm assuming he's jealous of you.
No matter how hard I try, I can't seem to please him.
Just stay out of his way. You probably won't be able to please him.
I don't think I can do another 2 weeks. I'm afraid he'll hurt me.
Yeah.
Hey!
I spoke to Sample the next day. There was no way we could get rid of Moose, but when Sample spoke to Cecil the next day, he refused to leave. For a week, things seemed to go well, but one day Cecil came in without his glasses.
Hey, Mr. Anderson.
What happened to your glasses, Cecil?
Moose accidentally stepped on my glasses. I think I brought an old pair that I bring on me just in case.
Well, that's good. Let's hope he doesn't accidentally step on them again, eh?
That morning, Cecil made a ring out of copper wire and piece of quartz he had found on the ground. He had quite a knack for this sort of thing, although he always refused pay from his customers.
You know, I was gonna ask you to make me a watch strap, but it looks like you're almost out of wire.
I have about 25 feet left. That'll be enough for what I have in mind, and your watch strap, don't worry.
The next afternoon, there was a lot of noise over where the boys were cutting, but I had to wait until the whistle blew to find out what was happening. Cecil sat down next to me with his hand heavily bandaged.
What's happened to your hand?
Moose burned his hand, heated up the saw on the end of a tea fire, and now he's all damaged, bruh. The big Indian chief, Danny Corbett, went after him. He would have killed him, bruh.
Moose had been lucky that Chief, a giant Indian called Danny Corbett, hadn't caught up to him. I made up my mind to have Cecil flown out in the morning.
I'm off to play poker.
I woke up in the middle of the night to hear a man laughing and calling Madden's name near the edge of the camp. I thought it was Moose and Lefebvre coming back drunk from camp. When it was morning, I got to see Cecil already threading a piece of wire, using his good hands and the ends of his burnt fingers.
Hey Cecil, what are you doing up so early?
I went to bed early last night, so I woke up as soon as light. This is gonna be your watch strap. I want to finish it before I leave.
That looks great.
Just as the whistle blew for breakfast, one of the jacks from Camp 3 came running up saying that Moose's body was lying at the bottom of a deep, narrow ravine. In order for us to get to other camps, we have a log that you have to walk across. Moose must have slipped and fell in. We all ran to the spot to check out the scene. The boys pulled his body out. Lefebvre told me he wasn't with him last night. Cecil just stood there with the rest of us with no feelings at all.
Here you go, Mr. Anderson. I finished your watch strap.
Thanks, Cecil. It looks great.
As we saw Cecil, it was him waving to us with his little sparrow smile. After that, I went over to the ravine where Moose had fallen. That's when I noticed something peculiar that no one else had looked for. There was a piece of wire stretched across the lawn, enough to trip a running man. I'm not saying I know what happened, but for all I know, I could very well be wearing the evidence of Moose Madden's murder